Hello. Quick one. Don't know how long this one's going to be. This might end up being a quick one because probably don't have time. Sorry if there is a lot of glare on the glasses. At the moment, I've got a streaming headache. So I'm going to try and keep this one as quick as possible. As I put in the Facebook group to do with Warriors, I did say I would try to get something out. So this is my attempt at getting something out. Might as well, since I've been stupid with all the drinks and everything over the other videos. Chalky milk. Good old chalky milk. Yeah, beat it. Right. Might as well just get straight into it because, well, after seeing what happened whilst I was at work, because Saints look like they absolutely tanked Catalans by the look of this. So, yeah. Saints 34, Dragons 6. What's going on there then? And as I'm recording this, Huddersfield, well, good job I've got my tab in it. Huddersfield had just gone 20-6 up against Rhinos. So that one's alright there. Some people might say it's alright, some people might not say. Let's have a look at where they are in the tables. By the way, this is all live momentary. Un momento. So Huddersfield, if they win this one, will go top. So it's, at the moment, this is again as it stands with Huddersfield in play. Wigan, Cass and Giants all drawing. Giants could go top with this. Then it's Rhinos, Saints, Wolves, Dragons, Hull FC, Wakefield Trinity, Salford Red Devils and Rovers. Since when I did one of the other videos when it was Wigan against Hull KR, I did get told basically that some of the fans would rather that they just got called Rovers. So there you go. But Rovers for that one. And yeah, there is one name missing from there, Toronto. Now, that is a debacle of epic proportions right now. Something is going incredible wrong. Or to use a certain phrase from a racing fanatic, who I've been watching a video of at the moment, it's a catastrophe, is what he would say. But hey, they're not my words, they're his. Thank you, Aidan, for that one. So I'll drive in on that one while I just skip over. So let's see if I can find out what's going on with Toronto. By the way, I'm still using BBC to get the news because it's the easiest one to pick up on my tab. Right, so as the BBC reporter would have put it on here, which I'm going to be reading from the thing that Dave Woods did for his thing. So what happened to Toronto? So they made big noises when they first came into the Super League at the start of the season, not least by signing world superstar Sonny Bill Williams, who, by the way, he's one epic player. He's got some skills. He's got some fucking skills. He's a good ball player. Quite handy. But rumours are he's gone back to Sydney. He's gone back to Roosters. This is all just a paro, but I don't know whether it is 100% or not, but as people would say. Being the first ever transatlantic side in the British sport was clear on making more headlines, but they have been making them for the wrong reasons. They lost all 6 opening Super League matches, all played in England, and had begun to accumulate a worrying number of injuries, which was their squad was getting quite depleted. So they were basically just churn, and they were constantly looking around other clubs asking if they've got any players that are just on the fringes, any players that they could do with getting back into some form of shape, just even youth players that they could at least just borrow for a game or two just to give them a bit of match time, which was for some great. For other people, they don't like that idea, but I'm in the middle. I like the idea because at least if we can help out another team, it's great. And if you can get the kids some game time, great. But the problem is there was just something that wasn't quite right with this one. Even though they'd managed to absolutely boss the leagues before, all of a sudden they get into the top flight and the absolute sharp, which it wasn't exactly good, especially standing there in the stadium, seeing an empty away side, which looked and sounded incredibly weird, as I said in the vlog. Right, so their possible salvation came from the fact that they still had to enjoy the home advantage back in Canada and the promise of the large crowds back there, which was brilliant. But then this incredible a-hole of a virus decided that it wanted to come and mutilate that idea. So that has all gone. Now they have pulled out of the 2020 campaign. They have cited financial problems that no other Super League club has had to face. Now, this is all just, I'm going to be reading this last bit word for word rather than putting my own words in there. Unable to furlough players, unable to access the £16 million of government loans given to the British game, unable to share of the central TV funding, unable to draw much more from owner Dave Argyle's dwindling liquid assets. Now, there's a few things by the by on that, and we'll cover that in a momento. So they have now decided that it would be better if they, because they're unable to carry on for the time being, now that they have been mothballed, whether they come straight back into Super League, question, where do you believe they will go? Do you reckon that do you believe they should get a second crack at it? Do you reckon they should go into the Championship? Or do you reckon they should go into League One? Or do you reckon they should just pack up and disappear? Whether they go back into the Super League next year or will be forced to drop down into the Championship or the League One is still to be decided. But the noises from the club is that they will be back in one form or another. Now, again, like I just mentioned there, where do you think they will be? Where do you reckon they deserve to be? Do they deserve to be back? Me personally, I'd love to see them back, but there needs to be some differences here. With all of the ideas that was floating around before all this lockdown nonsense and all of this debacle kicked off, there was a load of other clubs in the North American area around like New York and all of that lot, and even parts of other parts of Canada. There was rumours and moments mooted about that there could possibly be a North American league going on. I don't know if that would actually work out, but if it does, it would be brilliant. One downside is to that, though, they would need to get a decent base of homegrown players. Now, it's going to take them some time because a lot of the kids have to transfer from either football, soccer, over there, or NFL, American football, college football, Canadian football. They've got to amend that and learn everything from scratch. They've got to learn the game as it is. So they then have to put that into the high schools, into the collegiate system, which is going to take 10 years. So this is going to be a long game. They've really got to play the long game. Also, some of the lads that are built like a brick and have got the natural quarterback abilities to pick up the ball and hurl it, they've got to learn not to pick it up and punt it down. They've got to learn to be able to pass it back and watch where they're going and use the brain. A lot of the lads, the fat lads, they have to be careful when they go into the tackle because a lot of them will spear and a lot of them will truck crush and then pick and drop, which is what, again, you can't quite do. They have to learn a whole new set of tackling, which rugby tackling is a bit safer than their tackling. They also have to learn to take the hits without the pads, which, if you've got the stereotypical soccer moms out there, they won't want that to happen. They won't want their kids to learn how to get pounded and ground into the floor and then slammed and be able to take a car crash hit, because it's not safe. That's why the pads in the American game, especially for American football, was there, because the helmet was to stop the head injuries. That's why we've got the skull caps, but different manner. Plus, their game was born in effect from rugby, but it's an amalgamation of other forms too. Also, their football is basically a foot of ball, hence the name, the football. But hey, I digress. So, out of there, what do you guys think will be with this? Also, where do you reckon the scores will be for what's going on at the moment? just because of what's happening right now. So I'm going to keep tabs on that one. As for what's going on, what do you reckon is going to happen when Warriors kick up for their next game? Which, let's see if this thing decides that it wants to load, because I know it's going to be next week. Come on, tablet, load. We'll be away, Trinity. So, yeah, so we're against Wakey next week. So what do you reckon the score is going to be with that one? Bosh it down below. Stick your views down below. All your suggestions down below. As for the rest of it, this is basically just where we go for the tangent. So, as always, one question for all of you. Since in the group that I've been doing a lot of the posting in, what ideas could you guys come up with that would possibly bring some atmosphere back to the stadiums once we've got fans in there? Some of the ideas that were bandied about is make a better playlist of music. So get it where it's like 80s, 90s, now, a bit of pop, a bit of rock, a bit of club, a bit of humour. Some of the stuff that's a bit more local so we can have some banter moments. So get like some stuff like the Shire Horses in there. Get that guy that does them from Wigan Me. Get some of that in there. Get a little bit of some of the stuff that we've had in the past. You know, bring some weirdness back to it. One of the ideas that I've noticed from when you just ask people at random what they like about stuff is they like the whole rock and roll atmosphere, and they like the kind of like oddness to it and this raw passion to it. So if you want to bring that back to it, get something like that. A few people in other groups and other areas and other random comments that go out on other places have mentioned maybe if they expanded some of the sound better, make the PA better, sort out the lighting so they get a better lighting package so that it flashes a bit more, it's a little bit more razzmatazz and a bit more jazz. Get that in there. Sort the field out a little bit more as well. I know people like the Mud Bowl, but if the field is going to get hammered, maybe it needs to have a bit more of a synthetic blend to it. At the moment, I think it's only about 5%. So maybe if they brought that up to like 10, 15, maybe 20%, we're in the more hardware areas where they need a bit more grip underfoot and maybe stop the spikes and the cleats going under a bit too much. So to give them a bit more stability so that they don't roll their ankles and pop their knees too much. Maybe that'll help a bit more. Maybe, I know this will never happen, but there's people that are saying basically the stadium here, the D-Dub needs to either be changed, got rid of, or whatever. For rugby, that stadium to me feels quite sterile. I can't remember what it was like at the old place. I can't remember what it was like at some of the older stadiums. Central Park is locked away in my brain somewhere because I know my granddad took me there once or twice. And I can remember being there, but because I was so young, I can't remember what it was actually like. I know it was loud, I know it was raucous, and it was in the open. So what some people like about it is the old style grounds because you're right on top of it. It feels a bit more raw and a bit more odd. There's the other things of maybe the Thursday night games aren't exactly the greatest for some people because the crowds aren't there. Because it's, especially at the start of the season, when you get those cold, wet, windy, disgusting nights where it's absolutely wazzing it down and you've got to trudge there and then you've got to stand there and watch everyone in the mud, in the howling rain, in the wind, in the snow, in the freeze. Some people might not like it because they've gotten a bit too comfortable with summer ball and stuff like that. Maybe it's some people find that the pricing might be a bit too much because family pricings might be out of their reach if they've got to come all the time and stuff like that. There's other factors that are going on, especially with what's going on right now. People might not have the money because they might not have a job. So there is all of that that's going on as well. Plus the fact that, well, the seats aren't exactly that comfortable, or the family area where we might need to stop the foul mouth muppet and stuff like that. If we could get things sorted, get an atmosphere back and have a bit more banter and get it sorted, maybe it will feel a bit more like the old days where we can get the bigger crowds. Because when I've looked back, I've seen in the records when I've looked at it, instead of it being 11, 12, 13, 14,000, I've seen it at 18, 19, 20 in there. And they're not even big games. It's not exactly like we're playing Saints all the time. I know I haven't got any footage of it on here, but somewhere in one of my files, on one of my hard drives, there's pictures and there is some stuff from when I went to the World Club Challenge game. That was the biggest crowd I've been in since I was at Old Trafford. A long time ago. That was amazing. The banter that was going on, the noise, just the wall of sheer people. That was before I was vlogging this, because at the time I'd only really just moved in here. So at the time I didn't really prep anything. I wasn't really aiming to start a mini vlog series on stuff at that time. If I can find those files, I will edit them and I will get them up. Because I've got some photos somewhere. I know I've got some photos somewhere. And I know I've got a couple of video clips, but it's finding the damn things. That's the difficulty. Now, what would you suggest that goes on with it to get the atmosphere back? Do we need to drop the ticket prices? Do we need to do more around the area, like doing more with the schools and some of the more local businesses, handing out tickets? Do we need to do a press drive so we can get half price days? Do we need to do the kid for a quid days? Do we need to bring these in? Do we need to change the whole ethos of how the tickets are driven? Do you feel and believe that the DW is the problem? Do you believe it's draining the atmosphere? Do you reckon it's draining the passion? Do you feel like that is one of the main problems? It's a great stadium, it does its purpose, but for some it might not be good enough. Because it's a multi-use venue, because it's got to deal with us and then football and anything else that goes on in there. It could possibly be that it was designed wrong. That it was designed just to do the job and nothing else. It was alright, yeah, it was designed in the end of the 90s, and a lot of stuff that was designed in the end of the 90s was just this sterile box bowl that was just put together, slapdash and slam down and done. From what I've seen of the architecture, you can't really fill the sides in either, because the walls on either side hold the walls on the goal ends hold up the stanchions for the roof. The roof trusses on the main stands hold up the walls. The walls just are there to stop you floating out. They do have a purpose and they do hold up, but the main walls on the goal sides, they're more structural than that, so you can't really do that without making a mess. So does the stadium need a redesign? Does it need to be kind of like, can you keep the shell of it and then do it differently? Could we get away with that? Like some people have mentioned, because the football club is now basically on its knees and has been for quite a bit now since all of that issue happened, which I'm not going to go into because I covered that on the other video. Since that happened, has that become the problem? Has that become the driving force for why we need to change things? So put your views in there. Stick all your comments in there. As always, like, comment, subscribe. If you are subscribed, ding that bell, because it always helps. And as always, I will leave you with that poser. I'm out.